Welcome to Your Financial Advocate with Greg DuPont from DuPont Wealth Solutions. As a practicing advisor and attorney, Greg teaches pre-retirees how to reduce debt and taxes and save with less risk so they have more spendable income and plan their way to a better life. Join us for this journey where Greg draws on years of experience and guest experts to help listeners achieve more spendable income for retirement.
Hello and welcome to Your Financial Advocate with Greg DuPont of DuPont Wealth Solutions. Greg, how are you?
Eric, I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm so excited because you've got a return guest on the show. Richard is back. Can you reintroduce him to the audience and what you're talking about?
Yeah, this is my guest today is Richard Davis. Richard is a expert in just about all things real estate related, at least from my perspective. Richard's got a new book out, or at least a new version of the book out that when he shared it with me, it just struck me as a treatise for anybody that wants to consider getting into the real estate game or even getting out of the real estate game. It just covers so much territory, and we do have a link to that in our show notes. But many people don't like to read. So I thought, why don't I bring Richard on and we can get some of this straight from the expert. So we're going to talk a little bit more about real estate today. Our last episode, we talked a little bit about the challenges that a real estate investor faces in the current market and some of the opportunities that this market may present. So we're going to dig a little bit more into some specific areas of real estate investing with Richard today to try to flesh out some of the things that we referenced in the last call.
Well, I know that Richard was so kind to answer one of my questions last time. I'm going to sit back and learn with the audience again. And audience, just remember, you'll have contact information. I'm already ordering the book by the end of this conversation. If you didn't hear the first podcast, you're going to want to go get it. It's going to be full of great information. So, Greg, thank you so much for bringing it back. And I'm just going to make my exit.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Richard, again, thanks for extending and coming back on for a second episode here. When we last talked, you started sharing with the audience one of many niches that you reference in the book, the residential care facility. And I want to get back into that in just a moment, but there are a lot of these type of niches out there, aren't there, that give people that are looking to use real estate as a engine for their asset growth to get in. And that one comes to mind from our conversation, things like, storage facilities. I don't recall if you mentioned those specifically in your book, but I'm sure you're aware of those things and have a lot to say about that. But there just seems to be a lot of different things other than I'm going to go to a seminar for a weekend, learn how to flip a house. If we could just kind of start with that. So what are some of these kind of niches that you have seen that people may want to look at as they're considering adding and creating a real estate investment portfolio?
You bet. I'm going to read a couple of quotes out of the book, and this is specifically on what's been called the silver tsunami. It's the baby boomers as they age, and how they've always affected everything from Gerber Foods to Toys R Us and right on up the list. There's 77 million baby boomers, all right, and 120,000 people a month, okay, are turning 85. 70% of them need help. They can't remember to take their pills. They fall out of bed. It's just they need basic help. They don't need medical care. They just got to be protected a little bit. And it's hard for us in this society to stay home and take care of them. So, we take them to what's called assisted living. Now, the big assisted livings had a little bit of a tough time with the COVID, didn't they? Not a little bit. It was a huge problem.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So what I've been doing in helping people to do is a very small scale assisted living where you can manage it yourself. It's called a residential assisted living. And it's a 6-unit or 6-bedroom, maybe 7 or 8 bedrooms at the most, but it's on a single family residence. And when I went to my own neighborhood and I asked the commissioner, can I put in nursing facilities, assisted living facilities? He said, I'll help you do it. He said, we have so many people that need what you're talking about. that I would love to have you just set that up. So what it is you've got, everybody's got their own bedroom. Every bedroom has its own air conditioning, separate system, so they don't breathe each other's pathogens. It's just so clean, and it's got air purifiers built into it. They've got their own bathrooms. They're not sharing germs. If there's anything that's going on in the world like we had with COVID, they're very comfortable. And everyone's got a television, and underneath the television, there's a little electric fireplace. It's real pretty. They do great jobs. It's communication with their kids. The kids can see them so that you can look in on mom or dad and make sure they're not laying on it's 24-hour surveillance, unless dad says, I don't want you looking at me. We can turn it off. But usually it's a very safe environment. And it also makes sure that nobody's abusing your parents, because if they're on camera 24/7, they're not gonna take your backhand to the parents. So these things are very, and the big institutes can't do that. They've got liability issues for whatever reason. But in these little 6-unit residential places, so you're just buying a single family home. At the most, you're adding on a bedroom, 2-3 bedrooms in the back. Or we actually have a cookie cutter program that our architects have drawn up and we're using to build them from scratch. So if you can find a lot in your selected preference neighborhood, and you want to be where it's a little busy. It doesn't have to be the ideal lot secluded off in the woods. You kind of want it where it's a little busier area that you put them in. So it's a very controlled environment, but it's also very profitable because I own the building. I set up the business, and then I sell the business to a nurse, to an expert in adult care, to a doctor who then hires other nurses and so forth. And they pay me honestly double what the normal rent would be, because they're not just renting the building from me, they're also purchasing and renting the business. So where I might normally get $2,000 or $2,500 for the house, I can collect $6,000 or $7,000, and they pay it happily, because each person in that house is paying, let's use the average, because the average is $4,000 to $6,000 for private care. $4,000 to $6,000, and if you look in the book, you'll see the numbers. They're exactly there. So if you've got 6 units and each one's paying $5,000, it's $30,000 a month of income that the doctor who owns it or the nurse is bringing in, and they're going to pay me, let's say $7,000. So they still have $23,000 left over to cover all the expenses. So it's a very profitable business for them, and they didn't put any money out of their pocket to buy it. So it's a very doable business for somebody who's been a nurse or a caretaker or a doctor who wants to buy 3 or 4 of these. So
I'm curious. So, with my estate planning practice, I come across lots of people that, don't want to go to a nursing home, right? We're trying to do plans to avoid that, to provide for mom and dad to be in care at home.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, if I've got a client that's got older parents, that they're concerned, and they've got a few $100,000 that they can invest in something like this, they could theoretically create one of these buildings to take care of their parents,
right? And
instead of it being an ongoing drain, it can be a source of wealth for them.
It could. They can basically rent out the other rooms to other seniors. It gives them companionship. One of the hardest things about being old is you're lonely. You got nobody around you all day long, and your kids are working and the grandkids are in school. I've solved that with 2 different things. One is we have friends who are living in the adjoining rooms, and second is we've got this tremendous communication system set up where you can even if you don't know how to work your phone anymore, you can just touch the face of your granddaughter, and it does a communication with her through Zoom or whatever else is set up. So I want to make sure that they're not lonely. They've got people around them that are caring for them, and that they're also able to get hold of their family at least once a day and more, because that's that, plus they complain about the food a lot in the big places. That's the other thing that we've kind of resolved. I'll get into that some other time, but it's not that hard to fix. It's an easy one. So we're trying to make them happy. I tell people that the kids that bring their senior parents in to live with us, most of them say, I'd live here. This is wonderful. This is a great place because we've got a putting green out back. We've got waterfalls. We've got a gazebo. We've got a little greenhouse that we build. Nothing huge, but just enough so they don't get bored and just stare at the wall or the TV or something. And the TVs are set up that everybody's got their own headphone system. So if you're watching TV and the other one's not, the TV's not blaring at you. And it's just a very peaceful and happy organization. And you add to that all the festivities that we have, basically franchised into the fund. So it's a great, and the investment opportunity is tremendous. I mean, you're talking about if you paid cash for one. Let's use the example in the book. I think I said it was $700,000 brand new in a prime location. Your net on return on your, if you pay cash for that, you'd be getting a 10% return on your money month after month after month. You do not own any part of the business, so there's no liability. You're a landlord. Okay, so you've got, and if you build a new house, you've got a 10-year warranty on the house. You've got warranties on all your appliances and utilities. So it makes it a very low maintenance. And actually, we build the houses, so there's zero maintenance on the outside of the houses as well. It's pretty easy to do nowadays.
Now, are you doing this in all the jurisdictions that you work in?
I do it in all the ones I work in, and I find other people that know how to do it. I've even got a modular home company that's designed one for me. One of the bigger modular homes companies. They're just a little busy right now, so that's not a perfect option yet, but that will be pretty soon. So that once it's a modular situation, it's cookie cutter. You don't have to think about anything. It's all done. You just put in the order, and 4 months later they ship it out. You basically have to put in the foundation, and if you use somebody like Superior Walls, they come in and do it for you. They come in and they bring in preset walls. They line them up, set them, and the next day they put the house on top of it. It's pretty awesome situation. Modular's the future. Walt Disney, when he built Disney World, and he built the one that's got the tram that runs through. It's kind of A-shaped. It's right before you get to the gate.
Right, the contemporary or something.
That's the contemporary. That's a modular building. He brought in the hotel bedrooms with a crane and slid them into this steel frame. And he did that, and they literally had the toilet paper on the rolls and the Gideon Bible in the dresser. They were done, ready to go. The reason he did that is that he could slide them out, bring another one in, slide it in the same day, and never lose a day's rent on when he wanted to update. And what do you got to do now to modernize? You got to tear it all apart and shut down. So Disney was one of the original creators of that. Huh. And I've built and lived in modular homes. They're actually built stronger than a stick-built home. Because, well, they are stick-built homes. They're just built in a warehouse instead of in the rain. Yeah. And they're built with 2x6s, and they're built so you can drive them 60 miles an hour down the road. I mean, the average house you wouldn't want to put on the back of a truck and drive it down the road. It wouldn't make it. So modulars, that's a big future, and they keep the price down with modular too. Because if I'm a carpenter, I'm going to get $45 to $75 an hour. I'm on the ladder. I got my saw in one hand, hanging on with the other. I'm cutting the ends of the trusses off. With modular homes, you get a guy who's making $15 an hour who does the same thing, just like the Ford original line where he did the automation. It's the same thing. The guy just does one thing every day. Pounds this nail, that nail. Everything's down on the ground, and they lift it with cranes. So you don't, the labor costs of building a regular house out on site versus in these modulars it's half or less. So that's another.
Let alone as they go to more 3D printing and all those kind of things down the road.
It's exciting. It is.
So one of the things that I really noticed when I was in your book, and because of my assistant, that she's a horse lady, and your niche that you've developed with houses for horses, because to call them barns would be a misstatement. So share with our listeners a little bit about that passion of yours. That's really interesting.
Some of our horses live better than a lot of people. They live like kings. I've been building barns for I don't know how many years now, but I kind of found that to be a niche, a specialty, where I build big, beautiful barns. I built one for a guy, Frankie. He's an equestrian gold medal champion. The guy he makes his horse dance. And I built him a 20-stall barn, big indoor riding arena, redid the big stone house, and did all that work for him. And he rents the stalls out along with lessons to teach your daughter how to make her horse dance. Instead of $600 a month, which is what a normal boarding is, he gets $2,000 a month, because there's a lot of rich daddies that want their daughters to have what they want. They want their horse to dance. I built them for people who own racetracks, big breeding barns where they basically only use them for 2 months a year when their brood mares are delivering their foals. All kinds of other exciting barns. Now, I got into that because I adopted a handicapped boy. He's special needs. His name's Michael, and he's a quadriplegic. His picture's in the book. He's 16 now. He's making it. He's got this little dot they glued to his forehead, and wherever Mikey looks, that the cursor goes. So he can write, he can read, he can do math. He's like alive. He can talk, through the computer. It's magic how they're doing these things. He's my hero, because kid's always got a smile, never complains. We could all take lessons from him. But the thing that got me into this horse thing is that he did hippotherapy. They call it hippotherapy. It's actually horse therapy, where you have, we were down near the University of Florida is where our ranch is. We have a student on either side volunteer to make sure the child doesn't fall off. We have somebody in front that leads the horse. That person has to know how to read their nose, their mouth, their ears, their eyes. Horses give signals. They don't just freak out all of a sudden. You can tell when they're getting scared. So you need somebody up front to walk them. And then we have a trained, licensed therapist who kind of circles around, does different therapy things with them to help them with their stability and all kinds of neat stuff. So it's also real big with military and with police officers and firefighters, because firefighters have a terrible challenge. Every day they're seeing somebody chewed up in a car accident. It's horrible what they live through. War's terrible too, don't get me wrong, but so's the everyday life of the average police officer and firefighter. So we're working with different communities and helping them with the hippotherapy, because it's an amazing healing concept. And I in the new book I'm writing, which let me put a plug in. These books are free, by the way. I don't charge anything for them. They're ebooks, so you can go onto my website. And the one that's ready right now is on investments. And the website's simple. It's www.florida, spelled out FLORIDA.cc. And that's it. Don't put .com on it, just florida.cc. Upper left corner, you'll see a link for the investment book. And by the end of June, I'll have the book on therapy, hippotherapy in there as well. I'm working with some super people that one's a psychiatrist, one works for the VA. Another one is she actually runs the hippotherapy center. So, we should have that up and running pretty soon.
So it sounds like you've seen firsthand what can happen with that therapy, and you're trying to get that message out.
You know what the hardest part is with the therapy?
What's that?
Getting the kid off the horse at the end. They don't want to get off the horse. That's when you'll hear them yell. No, that's the neatest thing. And the horses are magic too. They're just so gentle. We use like 14 and a half hand quarter horses, which are not real big. They're you can see, over their back. They're not a great big race horse or the dressage horses are huge. They're 18 hands. They're monstrous. But anyways, yeah, I know firsthand how it works, and I know firsthand I can't cure PTSD. I don't know anybody that really can, but I can make somebody happy. Sitting in their little round pool in their backyard, looking down over their 10-acre farm with the horse out there in the evening. Good stuff.
Well, after seeing your last book and the passion that you put into that, and I can only imagine seeing how passionate you are about this subject, what your book is going to be like with that. So I look forward to when that comes out at the end of the month here.
Thank you.
But maybe by the time this podcast is released to the public, it might even be out already.
Yeah, I update the website myself. So I'll have it running. You bet.
So, Yeah, we've covered a lot of territory here, and I'd like to again thank you for sharing this information with my audience. In the last few minutes here, is there anything else that you'd like to share with people that are maybe thinking about getting in or getting out? We didn't really get a chance to talk too much about the statutory trust and those type of exit strategies that are out there, but as you and I have chatted about offline, there are these options out there that people can mitigate the tax consequences
Right.
of that. So, and I do want to give you a moment to address that. But there was one other niche that you mentioned in your book. It just jumped to me that I forgot to hit you again on, and that was the kind of the investing in an Airbnb and how that is a way to maybe augment income and make more money out of real estate. So got a lot there for you to chew on. Maybe you can kind of jump on those a little bit.
I'll make it quick, but it's and again, they can for free, they can get a copy of the book and take a look at the chapters on that. But basically 2 ways to invest in Airbnb. One is you rent out a property. The great thing about Airbnb is they do all the work. They find the tenant, they collect the money. You have to clean it up at the end of the week or hire somebody to do that is the hardest part of your job. So that's just working very well. I mean, it's a great opportunity. You can pretty much get a projection of what like. I live in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I contacted them. I said, how many weeks of the year would my property be rented? Because Gettysburg's a summertime thing. I found out that there's also a demand because there's a ski resort 15 minutes from me. So that, I've got a year-round opportunity, spring, fall, summer, and so forth. The other thing that is becoming very popular is you go out and you contact somebody who's trying to rent their house out, and you give them a little bit more rent than they would have gotten, but you get them to agree to allow you to sublet it through Airbnb. So whereas you might, let's say, I don't know, let's just use round numbers. Instead of $1,000 a month, you give them $1,200 a month. So they're happy. They're getting $200 more than they thought they would. And then you sublet the property out that you don't even own to the Airbnb organization. It's extremely profitable. Again, you can go online, and I think I've got a link in the book about how to even check that out. If not, I'll put it in. The digital book is great because I can change things. Like this morning, I updated it with the new interest rates. I had 5.69, now it's 5.96. So I love digital. I do hard copies too, but the digital's magic because you can go back to it anytime. And I update it, every week. And so the same thing with the link to the Airbnb. You can sublet it out and never own the property. And you can get, how many of those can you own? You don't own them. How many of those can you run? It's a business. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty low risk business too. If you're in the right area, you don't want to do it in the middle of nowhere, because I don't think there's too many people on vacation in the middle of nowhere. But Gettysburg, where I live, that's a perfect spot to buy a small. There's one right now. I just saw it on the market yesterday. It's a $150,000 house, 2-bedroom. You don't want a 6-bedroom B&B because then they'll bring 3 families in and trash the place. You want a 2-bedroom. You want a small place where mom and dad can bring their 1 or 2 kids. Near the battlefield, near the restaurants. It's a perfect opportunity. In fact, when I hang up with you, I'm going to go buy it. It just, I should have done that yesterday. But that's the things you can do is you can pick those up, and the management's easy. If you don't even live in Gettysburg, you could buy that property. Then you could run it, and you could just have somebody who comes in and checks on it once a month. Not once a month, every week. When they move out, somebody's checking, making sure everything's the way it should be. And that's pretty easy to do. So does that help?
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Good concept.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And we'll leave the exit strategies for another conversation. So Eric, anything that the fly on the wall would like to add before we call it a day here?
Yeah. Richard, thank you so much for your time again. I'm so glad that Greg actually broke the ice about Airbnb. Let me ask you this. Do you suggest, or do you know if it's even possible to Airbnb part-time if you live in a house? And the reason I ask is that my house is 1 mile away from the stadium that the College World Series is held at. And I like baseball, but I also like money. So if it's possible to, Airbnb this for just a couple weeks while that's there, I could be in Mexico while somebody else is here. Is that right?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Great news.
The only challenge that people find is that they have their personal belongings. You need to lock that stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So have a closet or two that you can lock things up and make it nice and secure. But absolutely, you can do that. Airbnb doesn't discriminate against you just because you live in there part of the time. So where you at? You must be up near College World Series. You said the baseball.
Yep.
The kids, Little League.
It's no College World Series. That's Omaha.
College World. Oh, that's awesome.
That's a big deal.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Big deal around here. And also the Warren Buffett meeting. That's another one that I might, be able to escape town for a little while. Who knows?
Sure.
Airbnb this place.
The college towns are great places for Airbnb because the parents come in for football games. They come in, for graduations and that sort of thing. So they're good areas for sure.
Great point. Well, Richard, again, thank you so much for all the information and being such a wonderful guest. Greg, thank you. I want to ask you also. I mean, people have questions. I know that this podcast obviously is worldwide and mainly nationwide. Let's give your contact information as well, just because people are probably going to say, hey, wait a second, maybe there's another stream of income that I haven't thought of before, and I need to talk to somebody about this.
So to get a hold of me, you can reach out to me at my website, www.either dnblaw.com, which is my law firm, or www.dupontwealth.com, or you can email me directly. Just type Greg at either one of those addresses, and you'll get to me. Or you can call and give us a call at area code 614-408-0004. And Richard, before we do let you go, although your contact information will be in the show notes, if you want to go ahead and give a shout out and let people know how they might be able to get in touch with you if they are interested in some of the things and concepts that you've talked about here today.
You bet. Website is www.florida.cc. Email is rickdavis@florida.cc.
All right, gentlemen. Well, again, thank you both for today and the previous podcast. Listeners, if you just joined this one, remember there's one before this with a lot more great information. Go back and listen to it. And again, Greg, thank you for facilitating this. Our last thank you, of course, goes to you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Your Financial Advocate with Greg DuPont. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Greg comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at DuPont Wealth Solutions, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Your Financial Advocate. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of DuPont Wealth Solutions. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.